My name is Chassidy Craft, and I'm the literacy consultant at KVEC for the special ed department. And before that, I was a special ed teacher. I was in the classroom for 20 years doing special ed before I came to KVEC. So now I get to just talk about reading all day instead of trying to do all the other subjects as well. So we're going to be talking about vocabulary, and so by the end of this session, you guys are going to. My goal is for you guys to be able to take these strategies that we're going to do, and be able to do them with your students in the classroom. So, like we always like to, something that you can even turn around tomorrow and start doing. So we're going to just look at 3 things that we're going to do. I'm going to just introduce real quick the 5 components of reading. We're going to look at 2 different routines. We're going to look at a routine for selecting vocabulary words, and then also a routine on how to teach them. So there's 2 different ones, but we're going to go through all of those, and you're going to be able to practice those as well. So the first one is the 5 components of reading. So the National Reading Panel did a study in 2000, and it still holds true what we in the literacy world goes back to, the 5 pillars of literacy. And we have, these are the 5 ones, but we are going to focus only on vocabulary today. When you have 90, 120 minute reading block, you do different things throughout that block that covers all 5 of those. So, but we're just going to be focusing on vocabulary. And vocabulary is super important, but sometimes it often gets overlooked because there's not necessarily a standard that stands out specifically all by itself for vocabulary, and it kind of gets overlooked sometimes. But vocabulary is the most important single factor that accounts for reading comprehension. So just thinking about that, thinking about that is the single thing that contributes to reading comprehension. So why do you think that is? So knowing vocabulary is knowing the meanings of words. So why having the meanings of words, knowing what the meanings of words are when you read, why do you think that would be the single contributing factor to reading comprehension?
If they understand the meaning of the word, then they can understand these context clues for that whole sentence, the paragraph.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. They might be able to decode it, but if they don't know what those words mean, it doesn't matter. They're just reading random words to them. And one of the most enduring findings in reading research is that the extent of the vocabulary knowledge a student has relates to the level of reading comprehension. So if they have a lot of vocabulary knowledge, their reading comprehension is going to be higher. Okay, so now we're going to get into the selection routine. And we're going to talk first about the tiers of words. They're broken down into 3 tiers. And so your tier 1 words, those are words that you're going to see in everyday conversation. Words like table, funny, dog, run. Those are common words. Almost everybody uses them. Everybody knows what they mean. These are ones they just pick up in conversation. You don't necessarily have to explicitly teach what those words are. They're going to pick up on that just based on conversation and experience. Your tier 2 words we call those high frequency words that occur across different contexts. And they could be in the classroom setting, they can be out in the community setting, and they're a little bit higher level than our common everyday words. So for some examples of those would be like hilarious, endure, compare, contrast. Those are a little bit higher level words. These tier 2 words are words that are going to be the most beneficial for our kids, because the tier 2 ones is going to raise their comprehension level, because these are words that they're higher level than these ones that they probably already know. And these are also words that are used a lot. And so if they know the meanings of these words, it's going to help them raise their reading comprehension. Then our last one is our tier 3 words. These words are also important. However, these are low frequency. You don't see them a lot. And they're limited to a specific domain or a specific content area. So for example, a tier 3 word would be continent. Okay, when we're standing around talking and in general conversation, we're probably not going to be talking about continents unless we're in social studies class. Molecule would be another example of a tier 3, because unless you're talking about science, you're probably not going to be using the word molecule. However, we will have to teach those tier 3 words sometimes in order for them to understand the content that they're going to be teaching or that they're going to be learning. So you kind of have to decide which ones to use. And we're going to go through each of those and practice with them. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give you some words. And I want you to show me, and you don't have to hold them up high, but just you can do this right here if you want to. But I'm going to say a word, and I want you to show me with your fingers if you think if it's a tier 1, a tier 2, or a tier 3 word. Okay? All right, so the first one is maintain. Maintain. Okay? That one is a 2. That one is a tier 2 word. You are right. The next one, happy. Yes, it is a 1. Food. Yep, it is a 1. Consequence. Okay, I see a couple different answers there. So, and I can see why you would think either one of them. Consequence is considered a 2, but I can see why some of us thought it was a 3, because consequence a lot of times we hear that a lot in school when it's talking about behavior and things like that. But you can use that is a word that could be used in other settings other than school. Okay, the next one, photosynthesis. It is a 3. Legislature. Yep. Run. And predict. Yeah, that one is a 2. Yeah, good job, guys. You all got it. Okay, now let's get into the selection routine. We have 4 steps. We're gonna look at 4 of them. We're just gonna read them right here, but then we're gonna get into each one of them and practice them, okay? So the first one, and I wanna have you help me read this with me. So the first one is what? Limit number of words to 4 to 5 per session. And I know you guys were writing, so I should have let you all have time to write before I have you read to me. So I'll give you a second to fill that in, and then we'll read it again together. Are we ready? Limit number of words to 4 to 5 per session, okay? Like I said, we'll talk about each one when we get to them. The next one, select words that are unknown. Select words that are unknown. Actually, I'll just read these, let you all write, and then when we get to them, I'll have you read them with me. That'll probably work better. Number 3, select words that are critical to passage understanding. And then number 4, select words that can be used in the future. And the second part of number 3, we will get to that in just a second. Okay, So let's go ahead and look at each one of these individually. Okay, so what was the first one again? Now you guys can read it with me. You instead of having you try to read and write at the same time. So, okay.
Limit number of words to 4 to 5 per session.
Good job. Okay, now when we do science lessons, social study, even a story, sometimes they have a list of vocabulary words at the beginning of every lesson, and most of the time you're going to see a list depending on the grade level. Sometimes even the kindergarten ones, they'll have 10, 15, 20 vocabulary words. They're not going to know, they can't know all of those all at once, especially if they don't know any of them. And it's more of just presenting the word and giving them the definition and moving on. We have to actually teach them what the word is. So the research said no more than 5 per session. So if you have, say, 10, they have to know all these 10. Then pick 5 and teach those 5, work with those 5. Then when they know those 5, then move on to the next 5. And that way, for them to be able to retain it and to their memory and actually know what the word is, keep it with 5 per session. Now, this is one, like I said, a lot of times the curriculum will have a word selection, but when you're working with your students, you want the students' need that drives the word selection. So what words do they need that's going to help them the most? That's the words that you pick to teach them. Okay, now, then the second one. Okay, so let's read number 2.
Select words that are unknown.
Okay, so that actually seems kind of self-explanatory, but what that's talking about is sometimes they'll have a list of words, and sometimes they'll throw in some of those tier 1 words in their vocabulary list. And we may not need to teach those because if they already know them. So for example, if you have a story that you're doing the list at the beginning of the story, and one of the words is secret. Okay, usually at a fairly young age, they pick up and understand what secret is. So instead of choosing that word and go through the whole session that you have them trying to teach them what secret is, then you can just say, okay, so this word is secret. Can somebody give me an example of what secret would be? And then when they give you the answer, and you can judge, and you know your kids, if they know what secret is, don't use that word as one of your 5. So move on to something that they don't know, because you don't want to waste your time on words that they kind of already know. They call it a light touch. You can touch on it a little bit. This is secret. Talk about it one time and then move on. So words that are unknown, that they really don't have a clue what they are, that's what you want to spend your time on. Okay, number 3.
Select words that are quickly understanding.
Okay, so this goes to talking some about like that tier 3 word. And because even though we're not going to always use molecule after we get out of school, unless we're a scientist or something like that, or something in the science field. But sometimes, depending on what they're learning, they're going to need to know what those are. So if that's the case, if they need to understand what this word is in order for them to understand the lesson or understand the passage, then you're going to pick that word for them to know. And then the last one. Okay, so with that one is we're going to, ultimately the goal, for our kids, whether they're in kindergarten or middle school or whatever, we're trying to get them ready for the adult world to be able to function in society after they graduate high school. So we want to build that vocabulary. So we want to pick words now it's in our class now, but also words that's going to be helpful for them, that they're going to be able to use in the future. So those are going to be priority on those. Okay, so now what I want you to do is going to let everybody stand up. Let's see. I'm trying. I can't. I don't know if we have an uneven amount or not. So we're going to pair up. So I want you to stand up and then hand up. This is called stand up, hand up, pair up. Y'all are looking at me like I ain't want to kill her. But I want you to just go and pair up with someone else in the room, not other than just one of your buddies. So try to find somebody that you may not know or you may not have interacted with today. So stand up, hand up, and pair up with someone. And then after you do that, I'll give you the next directions. Okay, go ahead. Move, guys. Go find somebody. If it's uneven, you could do a group of 3. I'm not sure. Okay, we'll have one group of 3, looks like, and that's fine. Okay, has everybody got their partner? Okay, so you stay standing. What I want you to do, and you all don't have your papers with you because I didn't tell you to do that. So I'm going to back up to this list right here. And so go ahead within your group and go ahead and number yourselves 1 or 2, and then you group can do 1, 2, or 3. But just go ahead and decide who's going to be a 1 and who's going to be a 2. Go ahead. Okay, you got it? Okay, so where's my 1s? Raise your hand. Okay, where's my 2s? Okay, all right. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to set my timer for 15 seconds. Okay, my 2s are going to tell my 1s, and in your case, your 1s and 3s, the 4 steps to vocabulary selection. If it doesn't take 15 seconds, then you can repeat it again, or you can talk a little bit about each one, but you only got 15 seconds, so you shouldn't have too much time left over after you tell them. So you're going to, when I say go, you're going to tell your partner the 4 steps to vocabulary selection. Ready? Go. Okay, stop. Did everybody get through one time? Okay. And I looked down at my clock and I was doing 15 minutes and I went, so I had to redo that one. Okay. All right. Now my 1s, are you ready? Your 1s are going to tell your group the 4 steps. You're going to do the same thing. 1s, go. That was about perfect timing. Okay. Now we're going to go one more time. So now my 3 is going to talk to the group and read the 4. And if you are a group of 2, then you guys read them together. You guys are going to choral read and read the 4 steps together. Okay? Go. That was beautiful. You all stopped at the same time. That's pretty good timing. You had like 2 seconds left when the hum went back down. Okay, you guys can go back to your seats. And thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Okay, so now that we know how to select the words, so now we've got our group of words, now we're ready to teach it, okay? So now we're going to go through that. There's 4 steps on how to teach it as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a word, and the 4 steps that we do for this word that we're going to practice, this is how you would do each of your 5 words that you're going to do with your students, okay? So go ahead and get this sheet out. It's got Freyer model at the top. This one actually has, this is for 2 different words. So if you're working with your students, you can either cut this and do a half sheet, or fold it and then do a word later, however you want to do it. But we're just going to use the top one. So I'm going to go ahead and fold it because we're just going to use the top. And as we go through this, each step, then we're going to be completing this Frayer model, okay? All right, so like I said, we have 4 steps to the instructional routine. So step 1 is introduce the word's pronunciation. Tell them what the word is. Number 2, introduce the word's meaning. Tell them what the word means. Number 3, you're going to illustrate that word with examples and non-examples. You're going to show them what the word is, and you're going to show them what the word is not. And then the last one is then you're going to check for students' understanding. So basically, you're going to tell them what the word is, tell them what it means, show them what it is and what it is not, and then see if they got it, okay? And we're going to talk through and practice each of these. So the first one, like I said, is introduce the word's pronunciation. So we're going to practice with the word invisible. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is present them with the word. So display the word, and I'm going to use my trusty chart paper over here. And when you are introducing a new word to a student, go ahead and just tell them the word. A lot of times, sometimes I'll see if you're introducing words and they'll put a word up and they'll say, hey guys, does anybody know this word? They don't because they've not been exposed to it. So just go ahead and tell them what the word is. So I'm going to put the word up. Say, okay, our first vocabulary word is invisible. What's the word, guys? Good. What is it one more time? Invisible. Good. Okay, so then you display the word, you read the word, have the students repeat it. Then the next one is we're going to scoop it. So you want to break it apart because we said invisible fine, and if you say it and then they say it after you, they're probably going to get it correct. But then if a few minutes later, they may not remember and they have a hard time like, now what part of the word do I emphasize? I'm not real sure. So we're going to break it into syllables to help them. So, and you can do it, you can leave it the word like this, and you can tell over on the slide, I did go ahead and put some space in between each word. So it depends on the level of your students if you need to separate it or if you just want to scoop it. It's up to you. So, okay, so now we can break this big word up into syllables. So we're going to do that so that we can get the pronunciation correct. So we're going to go invisible. We have 4 syllables in invisible. Invisible. Okay, so let's say this. Let's break it apart and say each syllable. Are we ready? Go. Invisible. Perfect. Okay, and then the last one is we're going to clap it out. This is that multi-sensory piece. Okay, so we said we had 4 syllables. So how many syllables do we have?
4.
How many times are we going to clap? 4. Perfect. Okay, are we ready? Invisible. Beautiful. Let's do that one more time. Invisible. That is beautiful. Absolutely perfect. Okay. And then that's all of step 1. But step 1 is making sure they know how to say the word correctly. If they can't say it, they're not going to know what it means and they're not going to be able to make a connection. So on your Frayer model, go ahead in the middle and write the word invisible. Then now we're on step 2. And it says, introduce the word's meaning in student-friendly terms. So this right here is key, student-friendly. Why do you think that's important?
Because if you use a big word, they're not going to be able to get
read the word that you're trying to tell them about.
Exactly. You are exactly correct. So I am going to show you a dictionary definition for training purposes, but when you are working with your students, don't even use this side, okay? Because I want to demonstrate exactly what she just said. If you look up invisible in the dictionary, this is what you're going to get. And so, not perceptible by vision. Okay, if they don't know what invisible is, they're not going to know what perceptible means. Okay, so we want to put it in student-friendly terms. Okay, and so if I were to put it in student-friendly terms, what would I tell a student what invisible means? You can't see it. It's that simple. So that's what you're going to say. It's so something that you can't see. So then I want to show you, I'll let you put that down. Then another activity that you can do, and this would be more for a little bit, I don't want to say advanced, but if they have some skills already, if they're ready for it. So like this one, go ahead and give them the answer. But then if they're ready to kind of work through and figure out the answer themselves, then I'm going to show you an activity to do with this. Okay, so you guys picked up a word map, and then you picked up these commonly used roots, prefixes, and suffixes. So go ahead and get those, and we're going to look at those just a second. Because what we're getting ready to do is look at morphology. So the morphology is understanding the meaning of word parts, which is prefixes, root words, and suffixes. Of course, this is not an exhaustive list, but it is the most common ones, and they're in alphabetical order. So for step 2, like I said, instead of just giving them the definition, you can do this with them. And I love this activity. I don't know, I kind of geek out on it, and it helps them. Well, we'll just do it, and then you'll see. Okay, so every student's going to have one of these. So our word that we want to work on is invisible. So everybody write the word invisible in the top box. And this is going to be mine up here. Okay, then okay, now when we look at invisible, we have a prefix, a root word, and a suffix. And so, of course, when you get to this, you're going to have already talked to them about what those are. So let's look at invisible. What is the prefix in invisible? In. So let's write in the prefix box. Okay, and sometimes the root word is the hardest to find, so we can skip it. And then let's come back to that. And what would our suffix be in invisible? Yes, ible. And so what that leaves left, our root word, which is viz. Okay, so you're going to put those in each of those boxes. Now, we're breaking that down, and we're going to tell the meaning of each of those. So then you got your students, look at your list that I gave you and tell me, what is the meaning of in? Not. Okay. And viz, what is the meaning of viz? See. And what is the meaning of able? Able to. Okay. Then the next step, it says prediction. So now they have the meanings of these word parts. And then they're going to take not, see, able to, and they're going to predict what they think that word means, because those are the meanings of those word parts. So if they put that together to one word, then what could you put as your prediction of what the word would mean? Yes, not being able to see. So they would write that on their prediction. And then after they work there, then at the bottom it says definition. Then I would come up here and show them the definition instead of just showing it to them at the beginning. So, So then after we work through that, then I would show them this. And I was like, look, you guys came up not being able to see, and my definition is a perfect or object that you cannot see. So it's the same thing. And once they realize that they could figure it out and see how close it is, they get really excited about it. And then it's like, oh, that's really cool. You know, that big old word, it's not so hard if you are able to break it apart. So this is a really good activity for them. And then once they learn, in means not. So then when they see in onto another word, they're going to be like, oh, okay, so it's not something. Let's see what else it is. So this is why it's important for them to understand the meanings of the word parts, because it would help them with unknown words to try to figure out what they are. Okay, so then after you go through that, then on your Freyer model, then it says definition, and it has in your own words. So we've talked about what it is. So then you have them, okay, write the definition in your own words. And the reason it has that is because if they use their own words, it's going to make sense to them, and it has their own understanding, and they're going to be able to retain it better. So of course, as they're doing that though, you want to check it and make sure they're on the right track. But you know, if you've talked about it and things like that. Okay. Then we're going to move on to number 3. So we've talked about it. Okay, so I know what the word is, I know what it means. Now let's be able to visualize what that really looks like, or what it really is. So the first one is, I'm going to give some examples of what that looks like. Now, invisible was hard to come up with examples. So, okay, so this invisible man is an example of invisible. His clothes are not invisible, but he is. We cannot see this man. He's invisible. This is, and I mean, I personally, this is one, like the kids may not relate to the person, but what's he doing here? Does anybody know who, like his saying and what he did, the rock, back in the day? Can you smell what the, yeah, can you smell what the rock is cooking? So what's he doing? He's smelling, okay? So he is smelling. Smell, you cannot see smells. So and then you can, that opens up to, okay, so for example, this morning when I walked into this room, I smelled like a tart burning. It was a very pretty floral scent. I didn't see anything that looked like it was, but I smelled that smell. I didn't see it. So a smell is invisible. So that's an example. Okay, so I show them what it is. Then I'm going to talk some more. So I'm going to give several examples just so that they understand. The air we breathe is invisible. And when I give them examples, I'm always going to use that word every time I say it, because you're reinforcing. The air we breathe is invisible. Wi-Fi signals are invisible. The wind is invisible. So they're hearing that over and over. Okay, then we're going to tell them what it is not. Okay, this one right here. So this stop sign, the blinking lights, they obviously want us to see this big red stop sign. We see this sign. It is not invisible. So when you want to, and then you also want to use that word, but use the word not. So use the terminology not invisible or not whatever your word is. So this stop sign is not invisible. This cute little puppy doing a little dance is not invisible. We see this puppy. He's not invisible. Okay? A red balloon floating in the sky is not invisible. A pencil lying on a desk is not invisible. A glass of water on the counter is not invisible. Okay? Then after you go through that step and you give them examples and non-examples, then on their Frayer model, you will see a box that has examples and non-examples. And of course, and here it says from your own life. They can copy down some examples that you gave them, or they can come up with some on their own. But always check the ones they come up with on their own just to make sure that it's correct. So then they're going to list examples, non-examples in their Frayer model. And then the last step is to check for their understanding. Okay? Now, there's a few different ways that we can do this. All three of these are good examples. You can use all three in one sitting. You can mix it up and one day do one or the other and things like that. But this is one that we're going to use our whiteboard. So if you want to get your whiteboard and marker out. Okay, and and then sometimes they may need some reminders of what the directions are. So you can put up here and say, okay, so we're going to identify if it is invisible or not invisible. Okay, so if it is invisible, if it is invisible, we're going to say yes. If it is not invisible, we're going to say no. So I'm going to present you with a statement, and you're going to tell me yes, it is invisible, or no, it is not invisible. And with your kids, you could put Y or N, however you want to do it. Okay, so what we'll do, I'm going to give it to you. You write your answer and then hold your boards, keep your boards down. And then at the same time, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, show, and everybody's going to show me your answer. Okay? So the first one, a bird flying in the sky. Yes for invisible, no for not invisible. Okay, 1, 2, 3, show. It is, no, it is not invisible. Good job. Okay, erase. Wi-Fi used to connect your iPad. Wi-Fi. Yes, it is invisible, or no, it's not invisible. 1, 2, 3, show. Perfect. Erase. The air we breathe. Yes, it is invisible, or no, it's not invisible. 1, 2, 3, show. Good job. And the last one, the pages of a book. Yes, it is invisible, or no, it's not invisible. 1, 2, 3, show. Perfect job, guys. You guys are absolutely correct. Now, if you notice, every time that I gave you the prompt, I repeated the directions every time so that they hear it over and over and over so that they can remember what the directions are. Okay, so then another, and that was just a quick one. I love whiteboards and they do too. So that's a good way, easy way to check. Even if you've got a large group, you can really quick see who has it and who doesn't. Okay, so then the next one, it's a little bit deeper. So anytime that you want to raise the level of difficulty, is ask them to explain it, or ask them why, to describe or explain. So then you can give them a statement. So I'm going to give you a statement. If something is invisible, it's not real. So you may want to break this down for them. Say, okay, so on your whiteboards, I say if something is invisible, it's not real. Do you agree or disagree? Write that on your board. Agree or disagree with this statement. Okay, does everybody have their answer? Now, tell me why that you put the answer you did. If you put agree, tell me why. If you put disagree, tell me why you put that answer. Now for this one, as they're writing their answer, you can, if you're got a whole group, you can walk around. If you're sitting at the table with them, you can just kind of sit and watch them. Now, before I had everybody lift their boards at once, but everybody's writing different things. So as you finished, you can hold it up and then I can check your answer. Okay. Okay, so you guys have some good answers. So you're good answers. I saw some good answers. So you're supporting and you're giving a reason why. So like, for example, I'm not picking on you, but kinda. It's the only male in the room. No, he had a really good answer. He said, I can feel the wind. So he explained wind is invisible, but he explained it is real because I feel it. That makes it real. So I love that answer. That was a really good answer. So you want to have them really explain and justify why it's not real or why it is real. Okay, and the last one is check. You can have them come up with answers on their own. So you've kind of given them the prompts. They've said yes or no, all these things. So like, okay, guys, we've talked about it. We've done a lot of all these examples. So you guys give me some examples from your life or some that you have thought of, an example of invisible. So if anybody would like to share, I would love some and I could make mine a little bit, because they can come up with some good ones too. So what would be some other examples of invisible?
The smell of something cooking.
Oh, yes. The smell of something cooking. Love walking in and smelling green beans. But just that smell. Yes. Anything else? One answer some of your kids might say that is the Invisible Man. I think is he a superhero, I believe, or something. So if they say, have them to explain that, because sometimes he's not always invisible. He can see him sometimes. So if they say he's Invisible Man, like, you know what, you're exactly right. Can you explain to us when he is invisible and when he's not invisible? And just have them elaborate on that. So anyway, just any of those that they come up with, have them, explain it, and that way you can. It's a good way for them to have a true understanding about what that is. If they can pull their own ideas out of their head and give you an example, that takes them to that next level of difficulty. Okay. Then after that, after you check their understanding, then you look at the Frayer model here. So now, after you can look up here, we've not done the characteristics or facts that we've talked about. So have them in their box, talk about, okay, what are some characteristics about invisible? Okay, and you can feel it, but you can't see it. It comes in different forms. You know, a couple things like that. So that's what you would put there. And then last, which is their favorite, is it says image. So they are going to draw a picture that represents the word. And whatever they come up with is fine, because what this does is it makes that mental or that visual for them. So if it makes sense to them, it helps them make that connection. So we've talked about invisible. We've done examples. So you draw a picture that when you think of invisible, what is that going to look like? So they can draw it. So sometimes, for example, if when they come across that word again, and they're not real sure, then they will refer back to that picture. It's like, now because they're going to remember that picture that they drew, and then like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember what that means now. So, all right. So now, are there any comments or questions about going through the steps of how to implement or teach each word? Okay, so that would be just for one word. Now you see, which we took a little bit longer explaining it and things like that, but I keep going back to that. I keep going backwards. But if you're going through it, you can go through this probably, I don't know, 5 minutes or so, because we stopped and explained it a little bit. So a good vocabulary, if you had like a 10-minute session, you could probably get through maybe 1 or 2 words at a time. A 30-minute session, 20 to 30 minutes, you could probably do all 5 words in that session. But you would just repeat the same process, and that's why you can have this paper here, then you can go on to the next word and do the same thing.